RPPR is brought to you by Mystical Throne Entertainment, publisher of Shadowed Earth and the Entropic Gaming System. Check out our selection of licensed material for Savage Worlds, Legend, Colonial Gothic, and Dark Streets, along with our titles from development. To find out more, visit mysticalthrone-ent.com. Mystical Throne Entertainment, bringing new worlds to your tabletop. Hey, this is Ross Baden with Roleplaying Public Radio, and this is RPPR episode 120, Talking It Out. We're going to be talking about party banter and dynamics. That is to say, inter-player role-playing, talking to each other instead of to the NPC.
So it's about all of us fighting constantly.
Yes.
What I'm hearing here is you didn't do any NPCs with funny voices, so we have to talk to ourselves now.
Yes.
Yeah, dude, yeah. Ross, come on. Like, you got to help us out. Give us Balgrin or go home.
Yeah, apparently. This has been inspired by some of our more recent games, Atomic Robo and Dress and File, which have a lot of banter.
Yeah,
And,
they are they are quite banterful.
Yes, banterful. That's a word.
I just made that up.
You did.
It is now a word.
It apparently is. First off, as you know, RPR is a sponsor now, Mystical Throne Entertainment, so go check out their website. They'll be giving us a coupon code for next episode, so check
so
it
you
out.
go there.
Yes.
You go now.
We're a real podcast now.
And then come back and listen to us because, we need you.
Yeah, you can listen to this while you go to their website.
We need you, baby.
We're multitasking.
We're lonely on a Saturday night. Please.
Okay, wow. Another RPPR news, Sparkles the Unicorn for Base Raiders is now available as a PDF supplement.
Somewhere in the distance, Caleb cringes.
Yeah. You can get more than just
screams.
the tip this time. So.
Oh, really? Really?
Yeah. You can get them as the hero or as a villain. And also
Both
there are
work
new
well.
items. There's also in our actual play now, the Wild Hunt, on the actual play site that has Sparkles, features the scenario seed featured in the PDF. Also has hints of some of we're going to have a bunch of supplements coming out this year, including ones written by other people. I'm not doing it all.
Yay!
Yeah.
I've got some, and it's going to be great. Yeah.
And this was Ross's empire begun.
Yeah. It's all right. I have a Patreon.
And by the way, you know the greatest thing about Sparkles, Ross?
What's
It's when he's actually morally right in his argument.
Yeah, you guys were jerks.
I was not.
You know what? We'll
and
get into an
now
argument
come the
later.
justifications.
Yeah.
We'll get into that later, but
we'll do that. Yes. So this episode again was inspired by some of the Fate games we've been playing recently, campaigns, Aaron's Atomic Robo, and now Dresden File, which is Dan has been running several sessions for two different groups.
It's actually happened, everyone.
It's actually happened.
Yeah, met multiple sessions of both groups.
Yes.
I would say it happening since it's still going on.
Well,
so.
No, it's happened at all.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I'll give you
2.5, 3 years of blue balling has finally seen.
Yeah, we could timestamp it. There's a thread on the RPPR forums that talks about this. So,
when he was supposed to get to it. And then, okay.
when he posted the update.
Yeah, there's a years of us going, like, when is Dresden Files going to happen? I want it.
Okay.
Yeah. So, because in a lot of our role-playing games, I feel that the role-playing is almost always between one player and the GM at any given time. There's very little role-playing going across the table as it was. Players talking to each other or resolving things without necessarily the
I do think it happens more in this group than I've experienced in a lot of other groups.
Well, yeah, I think we are pretty good about that, but we should talk about how to bring about like what certain types of player characters, certain types of games are better for this than others. And so there are things you can do as a player to help bring this out more, have more of that. But there's also such thing as having too much of it, because then, there should be, I don't know, some kind of a plot maybe in games.
Lies.
Yeah, apparently.
It's all about the rolling dice, nothing else.
Well, that's the thing. In party versus party role-playing, there's usually no dice rolling because you're just talking to each other, which is weird.
I know, right?
There's no rules to guide.
Yeah, since when do friends and colleagues communicate with each other?
Yeah,
Ugh.
so
We should just communicate in sour grunts and stares.
So as an example, I think...
I already do.
Yeah.
Oh, my.
That's a lie right there. We know
Is it really?
Yes. So to use the most obvious example that I can think of, in the Atomic Robo game, my character was a human who thought he was a robot. So I played played it very straightforward, like, oh no, don't do that. Very emotionless or kind of sardonic kind of character.
Yeah, always referring to always referring to yourself in the parts that you were comprised of, like, oh, my optics are blinded, or auditory senses.
Try to use as few words as you could.
Yeah,
kind of laconic.
Yeah. But on the other hand, Tom was a former Helsingard scientist who turned himself into a dinosaur later on.
Not on purpose.
And the Helsingard, of course, are the Nazi super science guys. So to that, he created a good, interesting dynamic where my character was convinced you were a bloodthirsty Nazi dinosaur.
An actual monster.
An actual monster.
Animal.
And you had to and I had to constantly keep reminding you not to give in to your bloodlust.
Which, of course, I think my answer is, not going to do that.
Yeah, exactly. And I felt that was a good sort of running joke and a good way to show that. You know, we had two different parts that we could play, and there was a never-ending source of conflict as you would get frustrated with me, and I would just overreact to your character, anything your character did. So I don't know. I thought that was a good thing.
Well, speaking of this, we're remiss if we don't mention David's character as well and your interactions with him.
Okay. Yeah.
Because
he was playing a David character.
He was playing a David character.
Right,
a sociopath?
Yeah.
Yes.
So, yes.
A reformed mad scientist.
Okay, how about this? He's playing a sociopath who's an extreme extrovert.
So a David character.
Exactly.
Yeah. So go on.
Because it was always interesting to watch you kind of react to the squeaking.
Yeah.
That's a table, by the way.
Yeah.
But no, it was always interesting to see you guys react through characters to what he was doing, because, yes, he was doing David over the top, which was a character named Dr. Malevolent.
Malevolent. Malevolent, basically.
It's malevolent, but...
it was malevolent, just with the wrong...
Syllable emphasized?
There you go.
But it was
the tome of hyperbole.
I was going to ask, how, at least with the dynamic, were you feeling how you were trying to react to him constantly? Because I was taking.
I kind of focused on Tom. It was more for me. That was the thing.
Well, to be honest, with David, it was a little more, not so much a lot of back and forth, but a lot of him really talking loud.
Yeah,
which
as a mad scientist.
Yeah. Nothing against David, but he's almost not germane to this conversation because we are talking about dialogue. And David actually prefers the monologue, which is great. His ability to be loud and come up with on the fly things to say is pretty, wonderful.
Impressive.
But as for interaction,
I also know I had fun because also none of us actually bothered to try to help you realize you were not a robot.
Right.
In fact, a lot of us, we just took you at your word.
It's like sleepwalking. You can't tell them; it might hurt them.
Yeah.
So we all just went along with it, and we kind of played it. We never said it in game, but I think all just mentally assumed we've been doing this for a long time.
Yeah. So I think everyone had sort of roles, different play, and there was sort of a conflict. I think a lot of problems is in a lot of role-playing games. A lot of players tend to make, I'm a special snowflake who doesn't talk to people. That's a stereotypical.
They want to play Batman.
They want to play Batman.
Black puddings that raised me that I keep in a bandolier.
That's actually, I hadn't heard that particular one, but there's the orphaned, the person who is. They try to imitate heroes in fiction where you could hear their inner monologue. I'm a tortured hero. But that does, they're trying to play Rorschach, but Rorschach's dialogue is all inside his head. And so in a role-playing game, you can't really... It's not really that interesting. Like, I sulk and sit by myself. Or
in fact, whenever anyone talks to Rorschach, it's an unpleasant experience.
Right, but he doesn't want. Most of the time, he's like, "Let's go beat up those bad guys." He'd either say yes or wander off and go beat up bad guys on his own. The other example would be, and so that's terrible. You're being too combative, too isolated, to whatever to function at all within the party. But on the other hand, there's the other extreme, which is very common. I see a lot like, okay, let's all get together, gang, and do everything, and everyone
and
goes out.
Gets done.
Well, no, everyone does things, but everyone gets along perfectly. Everyone.
No conflict.
There's no inner conflict.
Yeah,
in the party.
and to make it interesting, you're like there needs to be a middle ground because it can't all be
Right.
all Smurfs or all Frank Miller.
What you need to do,
Yeah. All right. There we go.
Just
Never go full Smurf.
just like whatever obscure episode of Garfield and Friends taught us, what you need to do is imagine the characters in the party trying to order a pizza together. Conflict generated in no time.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah. What toppings?
Exactly.
Rorschach wants.
Yeah, or you'll just assume I assume you're gonna want bloody raw human meat on it, yeah, long pig pizza, just like mother used to make.
Exactly. And then you don't. My character wouldn't understand the sarcasm. I try to order long pig pizza to placate your bloodlust. That's better.
And then it gets delivered, and that's the weirdest pizza.
But then the guy on the phone says, "Oh, right away! Don't get many requests for that."
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And then the ghoul pizza delivery boy tunnels up beside you, and it's
30 minutes or less. You were right.
So yeah, let's. I know, Bill, in the show notes when we were talking earlier, you had brought up some of Robin Law's points about this because he wrote a whole role playing game to sort of solve this idea. Yeah. The drama system slash Hillfolk.
right. Because I was thinking about this, in terms of, I don't know. I'll fully admit that I'm probably the devil's advocate here. Like, this is not a thing I'm especially good at, nor do I find great wonking quantities of value in usually.
Right.
But there are games, I was thinking about playing Fiasco. Fiasco is a game of nothing but this. So how is it that sometimes it feels like, just a bunch of wheel spinning, and sometimes it actually is the game? I kind of worked out that, at least as a theory, I think this breaks down kind of along the whole iconic versus dramatic character theory, for lack of a better word. So the idea of an iconic character, most of the characters we're used to from, especially, pulp kind of fiction, comic books, older superhero movies. In fact, the disconnect in a lot of modern superhero movies might be trying to make iconic characters into dramatic characters, but that's 200 level class analysis. An iconic character has some sort of core value that is challenged by the plot. They stay true to that core value and, either overcome or are destroyed by the world as a result of, dealing with this one value. And in most role-playing games, we're playing iconic characters, things that are, roughly Batman or Indiana Jones, or we have one core concept that we kind of revolve around. But if you look at, drama system is the best example here. A dramatic character has two defining poles that they're moving back and forth between. And, sometimes one is positive, sometimes one is negative. Sometimes, you're kind of ambivalent between them. But it's a matter of, one outcome is the hoped for outcome for the character, one is the feared outcome for the character. And I think that actually can produce a lot better character to character interaction. Because then, instead of an iconic character who really doesn't have any of his emotional needs fulfilled by other characters, you've got this, slightly deeper, slightly less plot-focused character that actually can go to other PCs and, be pitch scenes that the core of it end up not being, or the core of it does end up being, hey, I have this emotional need that I need fulfilled from you. And then all of a sudden, character-to-character interaction is doing something, where otherwise it kind of feels like wheel spinning. If role-playing is genre emulation, why is it important that we talk to each other during this investigation?
Right.
Other than to exchange information. Let's do that now.
But we talk to each other with sudden close-ups, what did you have for lunch today? I had
pastrami.
No way.
Well,
I had ham.
Well, the thing is, in any investigation, you need the Ice-T character to explain what the kids on the street are doing and why it's bad.
I was hoping you'd seen those.
Like in Law and Order SVU, it's what is it? They're drinking NyQuil and eating candy sticks a coin at White Christmas or something like that, or Brown Christmas.
I thought that was the one that involved Catbox.
Catbox, yeah.
Thanks, Ice-T.
Yeah. So you need that at least.
Right. But again, that's an iconic character.
Right. So yeah, like the classic example for an iconic character breakdown, I guess, would be Batman, as you mentioned earlier, and that would be like usually that's like, can he fight the crime all the time, or does he kill? And like the classic story is the Joker. Like, does he kill the Joker or not? Because the Joker wants him to kill him, and if he doesn't kill him, Joker's going to kill more people.
Right.
And so that's the whole story revolves around that dynamic. So a dramatic character has two axes or.
For instance, like since this analysis originally comes from Robin D. Law's book Hamlet's Hit Points, Hamlet has the dichotomy of inaction and contemplation versus action.
Right.
So is he gonna stand around and give soliloquies and think about kind of be a proto-goth, or is he going to actually investigate his dad's murder and kill his uncle and stuff?
Yeah.
Hamlet, ladies and gentlemen.
Hamlet. That's all you need for your high school Hamlet or Shakespeare class.
Thank you for not mentioning the Scottish play.
This was Bill's Clip Notes.
The Scottish play. The Full Monty, right? That's what you're talking about?
Yeah.
So, in terms of role-playing, what a dramatic character would be, again, like torn between different mutually exclusive goals.
Right.
So, like...
altruism and greed.
Altruism for greed. So, for example, actually, better angels. Like they're very much torn between like I can use my superpowers to do good, but I also have to like balancing their demonic the screw tape versus their own goals as a person. Like, do I want to have power to change the world, or do I want to save my soul? Or so there's that's a perfect dramatic question. So in terms of that, so thinking about that, and in terms of inter-party conflict, that's sort of, I guess, having the reason why I think parties go full Smurf is because everyone's goals are the same. As a Venn diagram, it would just be a circle. The goal is kill the dragon. Okay, let's go kill the dragon.
XP.
Yeah. So if everyone's goal was if there was some overlap in that like we have to kill the dragon because it's bad, or we have to kill the dragon to rescue the princess. Well,
or kill the dragon because lots of treasure.
Yeah. Yeah. In which case, what do we use the treasure for? Or, for example, I want to rescue the princess because I can then take her back to her father and I can get her hand in marriage. Or I want to kill her so I can be next in line to the throne, or my bud can be next in line to the throne. So they both agree on killing the dragon.
Did the dragon actually kidnap her?
Yeah.
Exactly. Or are they now married?
Or are you a secret cultist to the dragon? You're like, I'm just going to help these guys up until the point I can backstab them the best.
Curse your sudden but inevitable betrayal.
So I think that's the goal, is having like to go back to Atomic Robo. Our goals were basically the same, as we're all employees of Tesla-Dime, but in terms of that, my character, believing he was a robot, I guess he thought he had to be orderly and everyone else around him had to be orderly, and a fucking Nazi dinosaur is the opposite of my character. And so like I would say, well, organic versus inorganic. Again, this is perception. Yeah,
true.
Just sort of wondering what the shades of gray in that spectrum are between human android and Nazi dinosaur.
Which is still another reason I found it interesting that you two kind of paired off in that, because with the whole issue with logistics and order, and David's character just being bombastic mad science, I figured you would just be bouncing off of him constantly. So
once again, I think the problem there was, David monologues.
Yeah.
Also, mad science is still orderly because science has laws.
Not to him, or at least that particular.
And he's
character.
a human. He's not a dinosaur. Dinosaurs are instinctual animals. They're animals are the opposite of robots.
Which is what I saw, and I thought that
thought
worked.
about this so much.
But also, like, I think I just took what Ross was. I think we both just took what we were both doing.
Yeah.
And like, all right, let's do something with this.
So the dramatic conflict doesn't necessarily, the drama versus iconic thing doesn't have to necessarily be the goal. It could be just personality traits or the opposing.
Yeah. This isn't an end in and of itself. It's just, if I was setting out with the goal of let's play a role-playing game where like the intended goal is to have lots of interactions like this, I would try to figure out what are the pulls of my character and who can I go to try to get them fulfilled, and how can we rub up against each other and have some nice, frisson there.
Yeah, and also, I mean, sometimes, but also, like, it can just happen in a game that no one's planning on doing that.
Okay.
I think it can actually, like, sometimes this good banter can just spontaneously happen between
Right, but there's
players.
certain conditions that promote it, and there's certain conditions that lower its chances of having good banner.
It's like the conditions have to be right.
Right, the conditions.
Delta Green, not a great place for banter. Because it's going to be, well, what'd you do today? Went to the gun range. How about you?
Like,
Same.
I was like, how about you? Like, psychiatrist office.
Yay. And C.
So went and burned down the green box facility. Mission over.
Well, I think actually the new Delta Green will have more opportunities for that because with the bonds.
But I still
absolutely.
think that's going to be more with the GM.
Yeah, that's true.
because The one bond you will have with the other players of the character is the toxic one that is killing all your other bonds.
This is true.
Well, or if you're wanting to get a step further beyond like just the rolling mechanic, if you're remembering something or trying to hold on to a piece of your at least piece of that relationship, you can possibly have one of the other players act out that other character, like we have been doing for Red Markets.
Red Markets. Another.
So just kind of move that mechanic over into Delta Green possibly and use it for that.
Well, I was thinking, using the bonds as a way to create conflict within a scene. For example, like the main thing is, I can't go in there. I've got a wife and kids. You kick in the door. So you take more risk. You're single. You don't have any. No one gives a shit about you. And then... Yeah,
somebody's gonna feed your parakeet eventually.
Yeah, I'll feed your parakeet. I don't care. I'll take it. My kids could use a bird. I don't care
for 5-10 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. And so, and that can be an engaging thing where players can sort of have a more memorable scene. I think having good banner, even if it's not much, even that you kick in the door, no, you kick in the door.
I think sometimes even in a campaign there could be an individual mission. Like remember the dinner party from New World?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's all that was us just ourselves and other NPCs.
That's not banter.
Yeah. Well, aside from the arguing thing, there were good scenes in there, but I mean a lot of it was player versus.
I think the yelling kind of blotted them all out of my memory.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Fair enough. But I think part of the thing is also, again, going back to personality and type is a lot of players do play a lot of characters that are very I am stone or I
need nothing and no one.
I need nothing and no one, or I just want to be reactive. A lot of players are very reactive, and I think you need to give whatever character you roleplay an excuse to go out and initiate conversation or demand something from other players. I mean, again, going to Hillfolk,
I think a lot New Arcadia. That was a lot of that in that.
Yeah,
So if you look at the characters in New Arcadia, especially at the street level tier, you have, for example, Norm, who wanted to be normal but was stuck with these robot arms that he couldn't be normal with anymore. And then versus you, who was totally abnormal as well, but
a bit more accepting of.
I remember one scene in particular where you freaked out because he found out of your character's back history with the mob, and so. The history created an interesting scene between the two of you as you had to come to realize who is this person I'm fighting alongside. I have to trust my life to. He used to be a mobster. Jesus, what the hell's going on?
Yeah, or just when he lost his place and I invited him to stay in the abandoned skyscraper I live in. And we had a good 10 minutes. Well, this is my place. And it'd be if you there's some Shasta soda in the fridge if you want it.
Yeah, that's another thing. You don't have to have. They don't conflict is. You don't have to have it can just be sort of a character building thing where it's just there's not much in the way of conflict. Norm is just trying to adjust to this new life that he has. It doesn't have to be you kick in the door. It should be here's your new life now. How do you like it? This is the new normal for you.
At the same time, I mean, I feel like that's really illustrative of what you could probably peg as Norm's two poles.
Yeah.
That's definitely punching the freak versus normal button.
Yeah, exactly. It works along that.
Or if you're going into the opposite end, when we're entering into conflict, Jason and myself during the majority of it.
Oh shit!
But
Okay, that segues to a point I was thinking about making relative to what we've been saying. don't play a crappy toilet paper character. And what's a crappy toilet paper character? That's someone who won't take shit off anybody.
Oh yeah, that's the other part. Yeah, like your character's more. You have to be more special snowflake and more badass than anyone. That's a good way of putting it. Is that from Robin Laws too?
No.
Okay.
That's from Bill's head.
No, I'm sure I stole it from someone.
It's from your head.
Okay.
Just say that. Say
Probably George Carlin. That's who you attribute
Or
it
his
to,
head.
right?
It's from a very
Henry
awesome,
Rollins?
it's from a very awesome head.
But despite that particular reaction too, Jason and I, despite the actual conflict of it, did actually kind of build up a story over it where
Sure.
a lot of it went from his the legitimate of him trying to find his father's legacy and me just wanting that
impulsive.
knowledge.
Yeah.
Yes, being impulsive and wanting that knowledge. Both of us screwing up equally and then kind of finding that path in the middle. So
Equally?
I remember your screw ups with the releasing of Damn Souls from Hell as the part of your character. What was Jason's screw up?
So
Choices were made.
mainly just kind of that
He was angry at you?
and carrying it for a long time in the game.
So that was equal to the murderous rampage of the Revenant.
Which was stopped.
Yeah.
After people were
Or the
killed.
rampage of Robot Assassin.
Yeah. There we go. Running
Robot
jokes.
Assassin, but,
Another good part. But yeah, so that's actually a good point. Like stepping over a player's boundary, being someone who can take shit. Like the thing is, the whole premise of any role playing game is that there is a ensemble cast that are together to do things, and so there's no group dynamic where if you have one person of the party who no one can ever insult, no one can ever push back. You don't have a group of equals. You have a cult leader and his, followers. You have Charles Manson.
Well, sometimes
and his family.
you actually
That's dark.
Well,
Yeah.
you'd actually.
Well, I mean, think about it.
Or sometimes you'd actually have in a game of 4 players. Sometimes you have 4 cult leaders who expect to be followed.
Yeah. I mean, I know role playing games are an escapist pursuit, but it's a team effort, and there's,
Or God having a party like 4 Batman.
Yeah, exactly.
For Batman.
But Batman has a family of and he's a jerk too, but he still gives them gadgets and shit like that,
And puts them in
trains
danger all the time.
Gadgets and scorn.
Yeah, gadgets and scorn. Just it's an interesting family
but you
dynamic.
do see the other
That
personalities.
was Batman Incorporated for a while.
Yeah, or Bat Family. But yeah,
until
you do
they're all
see
die because of I didn't follow it.
It's DC. We don't.
Yeah.
Big deal.
They
But
probably
besides the
all
fact
died.
that, at least in the times they were telling the good stories, you did see divergent personalities emerge
Yeah.
from it too. You had Nightwing, who was pretty much the much happier son.
Here's what it's like when you don't grow up with PTSD.
Yeah.
Yay!
Well, yeah, a better choice would be like the Justice League. Like, you could be Batman, but you can't really. Batman's whole thing is he is the one trying to act like super badass, but then he's like, I'm Superman. Okay, you have a kryptonite ring somewhere, but
I'm Batman.
Yeah.
And I can breathe in space.
yeah, and that's just terrible writing. You want to have the Justice League episodes where everyone has to contribute in some way.
Yeah.
Even Aquaman?
Aquaman's come up
Jason
a while,
Momoa
so-
plays Aquaman, that's going to be the badass.
Did you ever see him
most
in
badass
Justice League and Justice League Unlimited? They actually gave him a pretty badass
Okay.
storyline. So
Anyway,
See, we've now devolved to the talking about cartoons part of the episode.
that'll be next after hours. So
yeah. So, but I mean, that's the thing is you can go too much with the party banter and stuff like that. I think I know some members of RPPR are more tolerant of that than others, but at what point does banter get too much for you? I mean, it's a very subjective thing. I know there are some role playing groups that are out there that are just basically, let's have our characters talk and hang out and be cool. And then that's about it. There's very little in the way of plot.
And I think at the end of the day, the sort of story that your GM is trying to tell sort of determines that, because
that's a good
essentially it's a matter of I know if we're playing a Tom game, we can do that forever and he's going to enjoy the fuck out of it. And
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
if I'm running the game, I will be glad for 5 minutes to collect my thoughts, but eventually we want to move on. And if Ross is running the game, we are fine up until the minute he gets that constipated look and starts scribbling more notes in his notebook.
which means we're in serious trouble.
Serious trouble.
What else are going to throw you? And then Caleb, it's why are you talking? Do more plot now.
Two guys with guns burst in because you tried to talk to each
Yeah.
other.
We have 5 more pages to get through today.
That's very much him. That's true.
Yeah, but I actually think but for time if you're just wanting to do it by scene, like how much is banter is enough. Like a lot of good movies do it right. You can kind of time it a scene in a game.
Yeah, look at Quentin Tarantino. I mean, he spends months writing the dialogue, but like it's.
But then always something happens.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like in Glorious Bastards, the tavern scene, like it's 20 minutes of talking about movies from
But
the
it's
30s,
but it's
and
intense
then
the whole time.
it's very tense the whole time, and then the final action resolution it ends in seconds. It is very, very
Ends with say goodbye.
But if you want to take the opposite end of where it could go too far, then you have what was it? What was part of Grindhouse? His other one?
Death Proof.
Death Proof.
Death Proof.
Where it was just dialogue for a good 20 to 25 minutes.
That's every Quentin.
No. Death Proof. It was dialogue half the movie. Yeah. Then there was like a really quick, like 5-minute action scene, and then another bit of dialogue for another half, like I'd say third of the movie.
Yeah.
And then the final action scene.
It's very indulgent. I think we can all agree.
And then on the far end of the spectrum, like. I still think Clerks is a great movie, but I'm not lining up to buy the role-playing game.
That's a good point.
No.
Yes, good point.
So yeah, that's the thing. Like, it depends on the type of scenario. I would say like something like Mask Up and I or Lothotep. I mean, we had a lot.
I don't think we talked to each other other than to say, "Go there, shoot man. Don't use dynamite.
Use gun on man."
We did have our points of it, but
certainly when new party members joined the group, like
Yeah,
which happened more than once, they had to be introduced to the team.
Oh, hello, crazy person. Don't use dynamite. I really should have just like started writing out a waiver.
Yeah, probably.
Sign this before you sit
Hand it
down.
to your nearest lamplighter cultist. They'll have copies in the future and the past. So.
I was saying,
how do you feel about no?
I think banter can actually be kind of important because sometimes it's what gets the group to feel they're participating in the story.
Yeah,
I've been in a few games where it's like especially con games, but also some others where it's extremely railroady, and it seems like the only thing we do on our own is like you want to just have a quick back and forth between us.
So what you're saying is this is an antidote to games that are otherwise shit?
That's shit, but like it can definitely improve the quality of any game. I would say good banner, which involves
it's both a spice.
At least two players, contributing and having player types that aren't, shitty toilet paper or Rorschach
or the me monster.
Yeah, or the me. Yeah, and
me. Ross, you're not joining in.
No, it's all about.
He's hosting duty, so he can't do that. So
beware the me monster.
So I don't know. Yeah, I think other types of games that it's better for would be again like I think the Dresden Files there is a plot, there's an overarching plot, but it is not like the fate of the world is at stake like in Masks, for example. Atomic Robo, it was good I think because we were trying to save everything, but it wasn't like in Mask where there's a timeline and you have to do this by this point, and it wasn't as hairy. No Evil was another one where there was very little banter because like, oh god, we have to figure out everything and travel the solar system before oh god.
The other hand, for like being one shots, I'm surprised I hadn't thought of this so far, but like the road trip games.
Oh yeah,
it was limited, but banter popped up, and it was really important to identifying with the non-monster sides.
Like,
of
just Caleb. It was Cody. Like, oh, giant brain. Just listen.
That was to
an NPC.
yeah.
I know,
like,
but
we re-listened to that on the way to Gen Con, and like you and Cody actually did some really great stuff because you were playing your extremely laconic, essentially the laundromat attendant as a middle schooler, and. He was playing AD&D, the motion picture.
And together.
Yeah.
So, or the argument over here's a broken toy for your broken home.
That was another retro game. That was the
that was Sentai Rangers.
Yeah, the Sentai Rangers one, which was posted as a B-side. I don't think I posted it to the main podcast
because of here's a broken toy for your broken home.
Yes, basically.
Wow.
It's Jason's fault for moving away.
Yeah. Well, I think
Jason's fault.
Yeah.
Then he can't speak in his own. He can't speak here.
I think the thing is, if you notice, the main similarity is actually the tone of the game. They're more lighthearted, more comedic. They're not super grim dark. Like there's a different definitive difference between Atomic Robo and, say, Eclipse Phase, at least the no evil version of it.
You're saying Aaron ran a lighthearted game?
Yes.
I'm having a hard time imagining that.
Try harder. Adjust your imagining.
Oh, there it is.
There.
I thought you might get it.
No, it's not a value statement at all.
Oh no, you're fine. But you do have the point that it's depending on the system that you're running to. Group interaction and quipping is going to be much easier than it is because Atomic Robo at its heart is all about the weird science and the sarcasm, so you just let it flow freely. Eclipse Phase, it can work as well, but it just depends on...
You could do a lighthearted Eclipse Phase game.
But it's depending on that GM and how it's running, or...
It couldn't be a firewall game, probably,
Yeah.
Yeah, but you could scum swarm all day with...
Oh, yeah.
That's
or some kind of noir story on Mars. I actually did that. I did that in a one-shot.
Well, that wouldn't be super light. Well, it depends on how noir it got.
Yeah, I mean, and even then, noir, it's not really, a lot of character interaction so much as it's monologues about, how through the Mars rain I viewed the neon sign blinking into eternity.
Whores. Also whores.
Yeah. Never go Frank Miller.
I walked by the uplift whores. They smelled.
It would be interesting to try a game that is sort of more dark or serious that still has a lot of banter.
So drama system. Essentially, critical mass is coming together that we really need to fucking play.
We do. We really do need to play it.
Also,
I would think Dirty World would probably be pretty good.
Well, I was going to ask to say if you were talking about when we did a very thorough murder, though. Because that had a lot of interaction between all the characters.
Yeah, I wasn't here for that, so.
But no, it was your idea of no, just have them all start after they've all committed the murder.
Oh yeah, no, I told Caleb, don't give them free will. No, you want to start them in that pit, see how far down they get. Yeah,
in media res.
Yeah. You can't because they'll walk away from the pit, and that's no fun. You got to get in the pit in that blood and muck.
You have to get them in the shit.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I was backpedaling so hard, I pretty much broke the chain.
Were you trying to no, my character didn't kill anybody.
I didn't know what happened.
Yeah.
No, you said oh, I only went there to scare him.
Yeah, we went there to scare him.
Well, he was pretty scared when we shot him.
Yeah. See, that's a great example of that banner that happened.
So, so I guess that's sort of a work in progress. We'll have to think about this, address it more in the future after trying drama system. That's kind of what is.
I also remember some good banter we had. Remember the Fallout GURPS game we did?
Vaguely. I mean,
I mean when I was only in there for one session, but as the head of the ghoul town.
Oh yeah, that was the other thing. Having player characters actually the drama system thing is players have to get goals from one another. So in Fallout, the thing was you had resources that the rest of the players wanted, so they actually had to negotiate with you. Mm-hmm. So that worked out really well. And
we didn't just out of character say, all right, here's what I want. We did everything in character.
Yeah. So I
very little input from the GM.
So I guess if you want a banner-heavy game, a game about an inter-party conflict, make it something that the party can't solve if they just talk to each other. That's that.
Or give them,
or at least part.
Make sure they're not all on the same side because talking about bannery games that end up dark. I mean, Fiasco usually comes out comedic, but even so,
dark
if you're really playing those needs, then for one, the person sitting next to you that you share the need with might be someone working on the same side as you, but you're going to need something from someone on the other side of the table, and they're probably not going to want to give it to you.
Yeah, that's a good point. You have to think about how, again, you don't want it to be where everyone can walk away perfectly happy, you need the red key and I have the blue potion. Let's just trade and we'll both be,
Nah. By the way, your banter in Shanghai was good.
Shanghai,
because that's what led to they're what's this leather? It's there's cows on this island.
There's cave cows.
Cows.
Yeah.
They're totally not. It's totally not human.
Double
skin.
gold.
Yeah, actually, that was one thing that Caleb actually brought up in Red Market's thought was rationalization. Caleb would needle us for our various atrocities that we would commit, and then no, but she had to die because she was going to send people to kill us when she found out she betrayed her.
That kid was going to give away our position.
Yeah, the kid was going to give away our position.
So I shot him in the head.
To be set on fire.
Yeah,
as David, I shot him in the head.
Yeah.
Oh my
silenced.
god.
Yeah.
So one thing I was actually thinking about when you told me earlier in the week this was the topic, that sort of seemed at the same time to be a really good thing and also kind of a sticking point, I was thinking about Dungeon World, where actually when you take a journey, like when you stop to rest, you roll dice to figure out what kind of story are you telling about yourself. And that is at the same time really great and really difficult because, it does sort of force you out of that, Benny Badass kind of outlook if you all of a sudden have to tell the story of what's the most embarrassing thing that ever happened to this character.
Okay. Those Powered by the Apocalypse World games are very much like player heavy role playing because you have to literally come up with part of it. You have to take some of the GM's burden and come up with world details and shit like that. I know I've started using some ideas from there, like, so you find a mechanic, what's his name? You come up with it, assholes. I'm not going to do it for you. Because Are
you sure that's abdicating responsibility or just giving in to laziness?
It's delegated.
It is both.
That's going to work better in some games than others. Like if we're playing Star Wars, like, all right, what's the name of the shuttle pilot you're talking to? Like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
Rando Cardarisian.
You are fired.
Yeah. That would be, he would die of a heart attack while he was taking you somewhere. You had to pop it.
So what you're saying is
free ship.
Instead of counting Aaron deaths, we can now count how many NPC deaths we can force you into via bad names.
I guess we could try that. We'll see how well that goes.
I was like, I'm sorry, you got the Jedi that makes people think they have bladder infections.
Yeah.
He's gonna go all phantom infection on you.
Still better than episode 1.
Yeah, still.
It's not a high. It's a pretty low bar.
Yeah,
it is. But it kind of seems to me like I think the big thing of banter is I think it's a lot of like improv comedy.
Yeah, there's definitely the rules of improv apply.
You're like
Don't
yes and
negate the premise.
Yeah.
Yes and
yeah. I mean, to be fair though, like a lot of players take those ideas to use them to power game, like, oh, you totally owe me all this money, or like, oh, that's really my magical sword, or like, and then you can't just say, no, that's not your magical sword. And like, that's the idea, is they try to use it to get themselves to just make their character look better, like, oh, you totally did
Yes, but I signed this IOU over to the Bugbear.
Yeah.
Go get it from him.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, that's saying is you can go back
that's
and
how
forth.
the Bugbear looks at you. I have a lawyer.
But don't use the improv rules knowing that the player has to say yes and then agree to it, to just
code.
Like, oh yeah, you totally puked in your first drink and you fell in the, like, that's what I find a lot of times is they just use it to like humiliate other players, or like, I mean, not humiliate, but just.
So you're saying one level above the improv rules needs to be the rule of Will Wheaton.
Which is
don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick. Yeah, don't be a dick.
Yeah, just because it's supposed to enrich the story for everybody else and make it more immersive, not immediately again single out to show how badass your Batman is. So
yeah, exactly. Or how everyone else's sucks compared to your.
I mentioned it before we recorded, but like my favorite from Ghostbusters, just when Venkman says, "This reminds me of that time you tried to drill a hole through your head." Just totally just something I can see a character throwing away to someone else, and it's the difference between, dude, I never did that. What are you talking about? And that would have worked if you hadn't stopped me.
Right. Which works. It was a very funny line, but some players would be like, my character would never do that, and then they're kind of stuck in that awkward position. So you have to kind of know the other player.
Or they might try something like, and remember how I did it, and actually apparently I punctured a part of my brain and it gave me psychic powers?
Yeah. Or, yeah. Or it turns out I'm a cyborg? Yeah. Well, I just found the metal plate in myself.
But we're playing an Iron Age tribe.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, maybe it came from the metal sky gods.
Wait a minute. Somebody.
Now it's cherry to the gods, motherfucker.
All of a sudden I'd play this.
Yeah.
Somebody wrote something different. This is in the book. Oh, riffs.
Yeah. It was riffs. The riffs was inside the house. Before we
the
get
Palladium was inside the house.
Wait, it's not October yet. We can't do scary stories. All right, so
scary stories to tell in the dark.
Yeah,
Palladium edition.
Let's move on before I know. Next segment, Bill, you have the newest D&D book.
Yes.
So when we get back,
he seems very happy about that.
Out of the Abyss.
Happy about it.
And then of course we have shout outs. So we'll be right back. All right, we're back. That was some good music, whatever I choose in the future of this recording. Probably synthwave or vaporwave.
I'm over it.
I'll vape a Starbucks.
I'm really over it now.
I'll vape a Starburst. I don't even give a fuck.
So before we get to the shoutouts,
Not
and
even
anecdote,
one fuck?
we got RPPR got a review copy of Out of the Abyss, the newest 5th Ed D&D book, and
I
Bill
will talk about it.
And Bill is our resident, more of a 5th Ed expert than I am, since you run more of it than I have. I don't think I've actually run any of it. I've only played. So. Yeah.
Shun the non-believer.
Yeah, pretty much. I've played in your games. So
It's all good.
tell us about Out of the Abyss.
All right. Yes. Out of the Abyss. Thank you, Tom. Being the third campaign-length adventure thingamy to come out from WotC since 5th Ed came out. So I really want to like this book. I really, really want to like this book. The problem is it's the wrong thing.
Okay.
This isn't a good campaign. It's just probably the best Underdark source book I've ever seen.
Really?
Yeah. I'll expound on that in a minute, but first, a small disclaimer for all the listeners at home. The very first thing I did when Ross handed this book over to me was open it up and shake it very hard to make sure no Drist fell out. And as it turns out, there's none. I think I saw his name pop up one place where only the GM would ever have to see it, and they don't have to tell the players about it. And then he unnamed pops up in the vision of a beholder that you might end up scrying through because reasons. This is kind of a strange thing. Yeah.
So are we going to get any no Ice-T talking about his adventures in this particular book?
Nope.
Sad.
Lame.
So, like I said, this is a better source book than it is an adventure. The thing is, the adventure, I've read it through. I haven't read it extremely closely, but I've read through it enough to get a sense of it. The adventure is not bad in and of itself. The synopsis is basically drow mage works a spell that accidentally opens up portals to the abyss, and demon lords step through into the Underdark and start wrecking things.
Like they do.
Yep. And the question eventually becomes, are you bad enough dudes to do something about it? Here's the problem with that. I guess Pelgrane has kind of spoiled me for the way they write adventures because that synopsis was buried 150 pages into the book.
Of the big plot?
Yes.
That should be the pitch sentence right there.
Yeah, that should be up front. And that
I know it
was sort
starts,
of,
it's like from level 1 to 15. It's supposed to be from level 1 to 15.
Yeah.
And you start as slaves.
You start imprisoned in a drow work camp or something. But that's sort of a resonating problem that goes down through the book in that, it's broken up into, looks like 17 different chapters here. Each chapter is its own, nugget of, adventuresome goodness. But each one of them fails to start with an explanation to the GM of what the hell is going on here. As a big structure, it works pretty well because you're in prison. You escape prison. You go essentially hex crawling, other than there's not, a really great hex map, but, whatever, point crawling. Obscure RPG terms, through the Underdark. It's got a really great chapter on what is it like to travel through the Underdark. And then 4 different places you can head out for in the Underdark. And then it kind of funnels back together. You escape for a little bit. And some dwarf king is like, hey, so it turns out you probably saw some demon lords down there and hopefully escaped with your lives. Will you go investigate that some more and maybe get rid of them? And then you do. But again, each one of the chapters fails to start with a summation of what actually happens in the chapter for the GM. So here I am, I ended up skimming over a lot of these because I read a few pages in, it's well, I have no fucking clue what's going on or what I'm trying to build towards here. So that's a problem. That said, on to the good stuff. This is a great resource to mine adventures, mine set pieces, mine NPCs, mine descriptions out of for any F20 game that you might want to do a great big underground, Underdark essentially, kind of scenarios or campaigns for. It just drips with flavor. There are some of the best like bits of descriptive and flavor text that I've ever seen in terms of fungal stuff, because what's her name? I'm not going to try to pronounce the like female demon
lore.
queen of fungus.
Oh yeah, it's like a bunch of I's and G's and X's.
There's a couple of G's and a Z and a T and
Just
letters.
consonants all the way down.
So fucking
So it's
many
not,
letters.
So it's not Jubilex?
No, he's also in there though.
Okay, that's good.
Oh, and by the way, Tom, there is a monster focus that I think you would love.
Tell me.
There is, amongst other things, a gelatinous cube that has gained sentience because of the presence of Jubilex in the Underdark, and there's some wonderful art of a gelatinous cube that has chosen not to dissolve 2 eyeballs from one of its victims. So yes,
So like it helps you look more presentable.
it's a gelatinous cube with googly eyes.
I think I saw that picture.
Yep.
But I did not have it in context.
Right. Let's see. There's that. Not to get sidetracked too much by fungus, but there are a couple of wonderful little Myconid NPCs named Rumpadump and Stool.
Yeah, I actually saw that. Like, I think it's like a random background table roll. One is you actually mind melded with a group of Myconids, and now you long to return to that.
Yeah. The way they cast the Myconids is very definitely kind of Summer of Love-ish, and I like it.
I've heard. I think I heard that they were trying to like reimagine the Underdark to be more like an Alice in Wonderland, like very kind of trippy sort of environment,
including the Mind Flayer Insane Asylum.
Yeah, because it turns out insane brains are more delicious.
Nice.
Yeah.
No, that totally makes sense. I've been playing
Spicy
Bloodborne.
flavor, I guess.
Yeah. There's an odd vein running through here where I think like this is, without trying really hard to achieve this tone, this is probably one of the more Lovecraftian D&D products that I've seen in a long time, because they actually embrace a little more the idea of demons as forces of chaos, and chaos being here madness, where each demon lord that's in the Underdark has its own particular flavor of madness.
Seems a little like Dream Quest of Unknown Cadet.
Yes, very much so. And I happen to be one of the people that loves that morass of never-ending purple prose. So, for me, that's a good thing.
I did literally run a campaign in that, so I am a fan of that as well.
So yeah, the long and short of this is, I think this is a book that is worth getting a hold of. I just don't know if I would ever try to run it as a campaign because I'm a grown-up with a job and a life, and I don't have time to rewrite the book into a campaign so I would know what's going on enough to run it. If I'm going to do that, I'm just going to sit down and run a campaign. But if I wanted to sit down and run an Underdark campaign, this is the first book I'd go to.
Honestly, I think, the whole thing about D&D that I never got is doing, like, let's do the 5-year campaign or, like, the 2-year. Like, we did that with New World to a degree, but it wasn't like the expectations was you're going to play from level 1 to 20, and that's going to be it. That's all every game is going to be level 1 to 20 campaign. And especially now, recently, with things like Armitage Files, Dracula Dossier, there are a lot of interesting campaign models coming out. I mean, even Mastermind of Lothotep is not linear. You do New York, and like, where do you want to go? You could just go to the end chapter by luck or by chance and like skip everything else.
So you get there and they're totally not ready for their ceremony.
Well, in there is actually like a timeline in it, and you have so much time to do it.
So I love to get there and they're just setting things up.
Well, that's basically that's how it is up until the very last day, like when they do.
How would you do that without metagaming? Because man, like you kind of had to work to figure out what the hell was going on.
Well, in Mass, if you go to the right city, which I won't say because for spoiler reasons, you could just get the clues to go to the hideout, and then.
So what you're saying is you deliberately seeded the intro adventure, so we would have extra heat there.
This is my second time running Mass. I know how it works.
That's madness. Ross would never do that.
Yeah. Plus,
dick.
How is it a dick wanting to actually give a full game versus, hey, look, I found the Chrono Trigger cheat to get to Lavos?
Yeah. Dick.
By the way, that was an awesome cheat. Thank you very much. That's like New Game Plus.
A lot of that is actually from Ask's Companion too, which added a lot of stuff.
RPGs need a New Game Plus.
You need a 600-page book to run your 200-page campaign. So that's what it sounds like. You need a companion to run this.
Pretty much. This one I want to have just for the having. I am still interested at some point in running Princes of the Apocalypse.
Sure.
I think it just does the thing better. For one, because it's somewhat improvisational in style. It's like, well, you've got 4 elements and you're kind of going to go after them in a pattern, but the players still get to choose what order, fundamentally, they go after them. Yeah. This just tries to be more structured, but then doesn't have the support there to make that structure happen.
Now,
it also does bear saying, however, if you just like books for the sake of books, get this book, because the production qualities of 5th Ed D&D continue. There's about 5 pages in the end of concept art that is just fascinating, amazing stuff, and Tom is drooling at them from across the table now.
Yeah, the art is amazing. Actually, 5th Ed art is amazeballs.
Kind of carrying it into a recent experience. Is it up to experiment? Is it up to Alpha Omega standards of?
It's better than Alpha Omega. Look at the cover art. Jesus,
I mean, it's attached to an actual playable game.
It's
There's that.
It's of the correct size.
Yeah, it's the right size. You could fit it on your bookshelf. I'm also actually looking here. I think Green Ronin, actually, they subcontracted at least some of the design out to Green Ronin.
Oh, did they?
Chris Promise from Green Ronin is Cam Banks.
Green Ronin knows how to put out a book.
It's
do.
True.
So
Huge masterminds forever.
So this might be. I mean, they had a lot of people working on this. So this might just be a result of
designed by committee.
I would.
But it's a case of designed by committee.
You parcel out the work, and then it's just hard to stitch it back together.
Yeah.
So, but it's it sounds really cool as again a mineable resource.
Right. And a concept that, like, should I ever run something like this, I will steal. There is a bit of sidebar for the final inevitable big-ass Demon Lord fight.
Nice.
As to how to hand the Demon Lords out to the players. And
now, I'm going to guess which Demon Lord it is, considering he's plastered right on the cover.
Well, that's one of them. But in terms of interesting things that could happen, this campaign also gives your party the chance to obtain the Wand of Orcus. So
nice.
Because you
have
want
fun
that.
with that.
Because that won't corrupt.
I was
you
asked
anyway,
for those of us who are non-D&D people. What is that?
In older editions of D&D, it's an artifact, like artifact, indestructible except through special quest.
And has a personality.
Yeah, it has a personality attached to Orcus, god of the undead, and had ass loads of
Demon
necromancy
Lord
powers.
of the undead. Thank
Demon
you.
Lord.
He tried to be a god.
Okay.
Remember meta plot.
So it's Necronomicon Ex Mortis in a stick form.
Pretty much.
Yeah, you can do a lot of damage with it.
Okay.
But
artifacts
also,
in general
your ass is going to get corrupted big time by it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you're not going to win that ego battle. So, great review. We will certainly
Citizen
put a link
Kane
up to that.
clap.
Yes. Well, very in depth. Like, I mean, I'd like to review more products to have new something up more than what we do for our shout outs, because we're usually like, hey, here's the thing, it exists.
Go see this cool thing.
Yeah. But so speaking of shout outs,
we'll just burn right into those.
yeah, great.
Fuck you!
So first off, I'd like to mention Nightmind. It's a YouTube channel that recently started up, and the guy on there basically explains creepypasta stuff. He's done a few things right now, the biggest one of which is Marble Hornets, which is like over 9 hours of footage when you put all 3 seasons together. And there was multiple Twitter accounts, there was To The Arc, there was a lot there. And and so he creates these by season little, like, it's about 3 or 4 hours worth of stuff, but it explains the entire plot and like all the little secrets and everything like that, and it's been helpful. He also did one for Alan Tutorial, which is another creepy thing that was actually done by Alan Resnick, who did Live As You Are Forever.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So this is what he did before that, and Alan Tutorial is both funny and creepy and sad, so Yeah.
Let's talk about Bob.
Yeah.
No.
So I really like it.
Yeah, and I discovered around the same time that Ross did, and I've been watching those too. And it's really nice because as much as I loved Marvel Hornets, it felt like it was hard to keep up just because, again, all of the multiple ARG elements of the other Twitter accounts and the different people that were analyzing things on Unfiction and whatnot. So now that I'm seeing all those pieces putting together, and also noting that now there are a couple of things that were either red herrings or stuff the creators admitted they kind of swept under the rug in season 1. So
it's not just a bunch of weird stuff that happens and then ends. There's an actual plot, believe it or not. Also, the Nightmine also linked to there's a trailer for the student film Marble Hornets, which is hilarious because it's literally like every single student film I've ever seen.
God awful.
Ross has seen a lot of.
I have seen a lot of student films. It's very earnest about it's hard growing up and like realizing you're different than when you were in high school or.
So you're saying all film students want to be Richard Linklater?
Basically, yeah. They all want to do Garden State. There.
That's a mistake.
It is.
That's a trap.
It is. But that's why it's hilarious. Anyways, you speaking of things that are fun,
Ross just indicated Aaron for the listeners at home.
So you can see this. Yes, I actually after running the Atomic Robo game, I actually rediscovered one of the series that I really loved called Eureka. It's a 2006 to 2012 series that was on Sci-Fi about this town named Eureka in Oregon that was home to a company called Global Dynamics, which was a DARPA defense engineering firm, which they just created multiple different venues of weird science to kind of sell, at least advance human society. And of course, it comes off as very stilted, very funny with their stand-in character, which was Jack Carter, a U.S. Marshal who came into town and ended up becoming the sheriff of it. And it is very much in the same vein of Atomic Robo, that you have all of these weird science characters breaking the limits of human knowledge, but also breaking physics at the same time. And but it had a great ensemble cast, very funny. I actually got to meet one of the actors, like the guy who played Fargo a couple years ago at Gen Con. But I would, especially if you're wondering Atomic Robo games, I would highly recommend it too, because it is just rife with fodder for the game if you were interested in looking for different examples. So
great. Sounds good. It's on Netflix now.
Yes, the last two. It's only sadly the last 2 seasons, but the other ones are easily findable. So.
Okay.
I had one, but I thought of another one. This would go better with what Aaron just did.
Okay.
It's another YouTube channel that I personally love, SciShow.
Is that Hank Green?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll talk about mine after you talk about yours.
Yeah, but it's it's got several people that do videos for it, but it's all like recent science discoveries or explaining things about science, and the way they do it is so perfect to describe science to someone that doesn't quite get it. And I think it has one of my favorite science videos, which is the 5 most dangerous chemicals in the world. It's just the amount of humor he uses, and also how he explains everything. I showed it to Dan. I'm like, okay, if I was still doing the job where I showed documentaries to certain kids, I would show this video. Because I think even like ADD kids would laugh and find this fun.
Mm-hmm. Along those lines, there's one specific video of his that's actually a kind of comedy hoax video that runs around as a science hoax. I don't know if we've ever talked about it here before, but this is a thing that's been around since the 40s called the Turbo Encabulator.
Oh, yes.
Hank Green did an update of that for Science Show for, I think, April Fool's Day 2013. Now working in manufacturing, that is what product engineers sound like.
That is your jam.
But I'll see if I can't get Ross to link to the 5 most dangerous chemicals video.
Okay. Jesus.
Link to both of those videos. They're both important.
Okay.
Actually, I think his is the Retro Turbo Encabulator.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And speaking of things that are dangerous, Delta Green. So
good segue.
Yes, I have been reading all of the Delta Green fiction.
Everybody make the symbol.
Yeah.
All of the Delta Green.
Yeah. So far, I've read 4 of the 7 fiction books that they have out in the last month,
and all of the real ones. Be afraid.
Yes. So just to give you a brief summary, first off, Delta Green's Strange Authorities, written by John Scott Tynes, one of the Delta Green co-authors. It has several of his short stories and Rules of Engagement, a novel, which takes place in the late 90s and deals with the Outlook Group, if you've read Delta Green, also the aftermath of Groversville, and has a lot of interesting elements into it because they use a lot of the sort of iconic Delta Green characters like Alfonsi, the leader of Delta Green, and also Agent Nancy is used in the novel. I know Tom would be interested in that.
Actually, I've kind of read about what's going on with her.
Yes, she is a ghoul, as described but she's working for Delta Green. She's retained her humanity. So
For now.
So she survives. So she's in the Rules of Engagement, which is again Strange Authorities. Then I read Through a Glass Darkly, which is kind of a sequel to Rules of Engagement, and it's written by Dennis Detwiller, another co-writer of co-author of Delta Green, and it takes the events of Rules of Engagement and builds on them to show the changing of the guard. How does Majestic 12 get taken over by Delta Green? Because that is, of course, the premise of the new edition of Delta Green, which is forthcoming. Don't ask me about the Kickstarter. I don't know yet. So
only Glancy can answer that question.
Actually, more Shane Ivey and Dennis Atwell.
We're only Glancy.
No, they're okay. Anyway, so Through a Glass Darkly takes place in the late 90s, early, and yeah. That's if you want to find out how Majestic 12 goes down and how Delta Green takes over, that's the novel to read. Spoiler alert, because that's the premise of the new game. Then I've read another novel by Dennis Detwiller, Denied to the Enemy, which is a World War II novel that deals with Delta Green being activated, dealing with him Nazis, trying to make contact with the Deep Ones, and also another plot, the major plot, is the deals with the Yithians, because it turns out they're jerks. They're kind of jerks.
Isn't that endemic of almost every other race in Cthulhu, though?
Not every other. Every.
Okay,
but to be fair, though,
Well, the cats of
they're jerks, but they're nowhere near as jerky as like
Cats of
the
Ulthar.
Migo.
Wait, you're defending cats as not being jerks?
No, there's not. They're not lethal most
Yeah.
of the time.
Doesn't mean they're not jerks.
Toxoplasmas.
Well, especially
driving us mad.
especially if you're in Ulthar, if you pet one and give it some food. All will
So that's a great novel. I just finished that. And then also I've read Tales of Failed Anatomy, a short story anthology by Dennis Detwiller, and one story by Robin Laws. And again, a bunch of short stories, mostly about Delta Green agents meeting their doom, because it's Delta Green. So they're all great reads. I recommend them, especially if you want to find out what the meta plot fiction canon of Delta Green. You should read.
Welcome to the
Strange
agency,
Authorities.
Sir. Great, sir. How are the retirement benefits? Awesome.
we pay fully for a casket. What? Never mind.
So those are it's great stuff. So I have 3 more books to read: Darkest Theaters, Alien Intelligence, and Extraordinary Renditions, which has just been released. So I have some more reading to do. Tom, we watched a movie with Caleb recently.
We sure did.
That you really enjoyed. Of course, Aaron missed it, but Turbo Kid.
Turbo Kid.
Why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Well, it takes place in the distant year, I believe, 1994.
Post-apocalyptic.
Post-apocalyptic 1994.
Yeah.
And it's a wasteland-ish.
It's very wasteland. Like,
Yeah.
everyone has bicycles.
Yeah, like the mode of transportation is bicycles.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like Fury Road with bicycles
Did they have an explanation of why bicycles were the primary?
because of reasons.
Because of the apocalypse. There's no
the
more
apocalypse.
gas.
Okay, well,
But they do have robots, so
Oh yeah,
how are they powered?
don't worry about it.
Rage?
Yeah. Also, Michael Ironside. He's the bad guy.
Oh, that's how.
Yeah. And
but
yeah.
it's about this kid that is living off by himself.
Yeah.
He has a tragic backstory, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Totally does.
Very tragic.
And he meets a friend,
Yeah.
and then during that adventure, falls down a hole and gets something that's totally not a power glove that shoots
Lasers.
body exploding lasers.
Yeah.
I love the Power Glove. It's so bad.
It is so bad. And so he comes into conflict with Michael Ironside. And
Because who doesn't?
Yeah.
Well, because he was running a gang of
jerks.
wastelander jerks.
Yeah.
Because he's Michael Ironside. He hates
Oh,
everybody.
and of course, water is the most precious resource on the planet.
Oh, yeah.
And he's actually harvesting water from people.
Yeah.
Because he actually has a machine where he throws bodies into it, which they are ground down and
Turned into water.
All the water is extracted.
So he watched Dune and was immediately inspired.
Apparently, I enjoyed the movie. It has a great soundtrack. I thought the girl was more interesting than the main character. Actually, she has more of a personality.
When he first became
Action movie main character without a personality? I am shocked, gentlemen.
I don't think you
I
are.
am detecting sarcasm for.
But yeah, but I
some
love
reason.
because when he first shows up, it's like, "Hi, you're my new friend."
Yeah.
Oh, a sarcasm detector. That'll be useful.
Yes. So it's a fun movie. It's not perfect.
No, I mean it's kind of shot deliberately so it looks like it was filmed back in like the late '80s.
Yeah.
But it was filmed like last year or this year.
Yeah. It was last year or this year. It was released this year. Very recent release. Very, very entertaining.
And Michael Ironside plays Michael Ironside in the Michael Ironside movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's just say he doesn't really play nuanced characters.
He doesn't give a shit. He's just like, I'm fucking Michael Ironside. I'm doing you a favor by showing up here. I'll do what I want.
So he's a honey badger.
Yeah. Exactly. If you were Michael Ironside, wouldn't that be your attitude?
Pretty much.
Exactly.
So
We should do a fiasco game about a low budget movie with one like old actor who's just like,
Yes.
let's
like,
do it.
I don't give a shit.
Oh wait, do our red campaign, but with all of those.
Or like Hobo with a Shotgun with Rucker Hauer, something like that. He's just like, yeah, no, I'm here doing this weird little movie for some reason.
Or anything with Werner Herzog.
I just started watching season 7 of Parks and Rec. He's in.
He shows up.
The first episode. It's just a little cameo, but like, and still, he's so amazing in Jack Reacher. That makes that movie watchable.
Yep. Something needed to.
Because it sure as shit wasn't Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise plays a good crazy person, and Jack Reacher is clearly a crazy person.
It's also true.
If you read his description in the Wikipedia from the novels, he is a crazy person.
Kids, that's what PTSD is.
And paranoia, like changing his clothes every 2 weeks. Yeah, that's
Whether they need it or not.
apparently. But no, he like throws them away and buys new ones. That's what his character
Well,
does.
after 2 weeks, you'd have to.
Fair enough.
As much running as he does.
Yeah, he does do a lot of that.
Those things walked away on their own.
Aaron, you could talk about a show we've been watching recently also.
Oh yes.
Starring one of your heroes.
Foppish!
No, I have always had great respect for that's like Sir Patrick Stewart.
Yeah.
So because if nothing
I
else,
would
yeah,
have bleeped you if you not said sir. Anyways.
Yeah, I know. Everybody else will remember him from Star Trek fame, but also he's a great actor regardless. And he's currently on a Stars. Was it Stars?
Yes, Stars with a Z.
Yeah. So a Stars
That
production
channel.
called Blunt Talk, which his character is, and I'm putting quote marks here, supposed to be a libertarian. It's like
News
talk
show
host. On MSNBC or something. But also, you have to realize that he is the most foppish human being on the face of the
Character's name is
earth.
Walter Blunt. That's
Walter Blunt, so that's why it's called Blunt Talk.
For a
but-
major in the Royal Marines.
Yes, with a manservant.
Who's
who I
in the
think is-
Falklands.
Yeah, it was. I'm trying to remember. The guy who's playing his manservant is the guy who played Ron Weasley's dad in the Harry Potter movies. But
Who's also a degenerate.
yeah, but yeah, it literally the most drugs, all the weird sex that you can think of. He's woken up by fighting with his manservant with kendo sticks.
Right. Oh, his manservant reads to him at night.
And he's always trying to get him to read the Quran. So and all of his production staff is on.
Was Cody involved in this production?
I don't know. It's
It's actually executive produced by Seth MacFarlane. But it was
So it's a mockumentary about his life.
probably the main creative guy behind it is Jonathan Ames, who also did Bored to Death. If you watch that, so
that is on Netflix right now. So.
So anyway,
But yeah, it's basically about the trials and tribulations of this particular talk
Train
show.
wreck of a human being.
Yeah, just a human train wreck and everything that he goes through trying to retain his fame and sense of dignity, which doesn't help because literally the first episode that you see, he gets caught with a transsexual prostitute and immediately decides to defend him by beating the cops around him and standing on top of his Jaguar screaming.
Screaming in Shakespeare.
Yeah, he's screaming.
He's quoting Hamlet as
while
he is on the top of his car.
defending this
His manservant was passed out in the back.
Yeah, defending the transsexual prostitute who's running away.
It's very entertaining.
Yeah, he is saying, you have a penis. Like, is that all right? Oh, that's fine. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, really,
No, it's like, ma'am, I'm English.
And now you know everything about the crying.
Yes.
a lot about good one.
Spoiler alert.
But yeah, character-wise too. If you, despite the extreme foppishness, it's pretty much Patrick Stewart's boss character from American Dad, but taken to 11 though.
Yeah.
So, can you trigger warning this episode for extreme foppishness?
Probably. Well, it's Blunt Talk. You definitely is. We're just describing it.
So the first two episodes
anyways,
are free online, if I'm not mistaken.
That's a microaggression, Ross.
Oh, ow. All right. You was speaking of...
Yeah, I have a list because I'm not on as often. So,
Yeah.
You gotta get that time. Yeah.
Shout-outs.
No, that's fair.
I have to tell you about important things that I like and you by extension should like.
Yeah, well, which one do you want to talk about next?
Well, okay.
Yeah.
So Kentucky Route Zero is a video game that everyone has already heard of, but whatever, you should play it. The last 2 chapters will come out someday, but in the meanwhile, Ross hasn't played it yet, so if you want to play it before Ross plays the most Ross video game that ever Rossed, get on Steam and get it now, and click your way through things. It's kind of like an adventure game, only it doesn't have all the parts that will make you hate adventure games. No pixel bitching. No
Yay.
stupid inventory puzzles.
Yay.
Just a lot of really great atmospheric story and clicking to walk around and,
Nice.
an old dog in a straw hat that you get to name. So
Nice.
important things. Go give it money.
Yeah. I've just been waiting for the last 2 episodes, but
Yeah.
I'll get it in the next Steam sale, all right?
All right.
Yeah, coming
Good.
up. Great.
Fine.
And then I've got a bunch of Cthulhu stuff to talk about because Armitage Files is a thing that's ongoing. The one that's not directly Armitage Files related is a column at the Illuminerdi website that's being written by Ruth Tillman, who will very shortly be a writer for Pelgrane. Probably already is a writer, but will be published sometime. Called The Arkham Archivist. She writes lots of neat things there. The neat thing she's writing right now is an alternate set of icons for 13th Age. Not so much alternate as parallel, because she is finding in Mythos entities an opposite number for each of the 13th Age icons. And even if I never run 13th Age, I'm just going to,
13th Age is fun.
feels for having run it. Oh, I probably will run it at some point, but even, if I get hit by a car on the way home and die and never run it, I'll be glad for having read these articles.
All right, yeah. Fair enough, Grimdark.
Yeah, a little bit. And then some books that I've been reading that are, somewhat important to how I've been doing Armitage. So the first 2 are both by Graham Walmsley, he of the Final Revelation scenarios. One Ross has shouted out to previously. It's called Stealing Cthulhu. Go get it if you want to run any Cthulhu games.
I've used it too. It's really useful.
It's really good stuff. And you can take just little tiny bits from it and just use that bit. And if you use 1 bit each scenario, each game, each whatever, you've gotten your value out of it. The second book of his that I'm shouting out to is much the same. It's called Play Unsafe. It is a book about improvisational game mastering. It's like $8 on DriveThruRPG, and it is full of tiny nuggets of wisdom that you've probably heard before, but you just really it's more about perspective. It's a very stripped down, very simple presentation that will get you thinking about things in, ways I hadn't thought of before. Then my final shout out is to another DriveThruRPG book, The Mythos Society Guide to New England, which I believe is from Skirmisher Press. I haven't deep dived into this yet, but my gosh, it's, 148 by 11 pages of background information on New England in the interwar period.
Which is when Armitage Files takes place.
Yeah.
Yep.
So if you're going to run, traditionally set kind of Cthulhu stuff and you don't know much about New England in the 30s, it's a book. Go get it.
Yeah.
Read it.
Read it, yes.
Use your eyes. Absorb the knowledge.
Yeah, we're not playing Bloodborne.
Your brain is hungry.
So, finally, we have anecdotes. And I think we have two that we could talk about. Certainly one from Armitage Files. I'd like to talk about the setup to get into the yacht club.
That?
Yeah.
Okay. I figured the neighbor's house might be
The neighbor's house. Which one was that?
the rural neighbor's house.
Oh, yeah, that one.
But you guys should tell it because I've tried to tell it and it turns out I'm not good at telling it.
Well, I like the yacht club because that was...
It was a marvel of
We
PC
didn't
engineering.
fuck up, and we had to work with each other. So basically, at one point in the Armitage trial, we were trying to get into the Kingsport Yacht Club, which was members only, and
Male members.
male members only.
White,
Yeah.
Western European.
Yeah.
male.
Oh yeah. Remember,
It's
this is set in the 30s.
Racism, folks. It's a thing.
Super racist and sexist. And so the thing was, my character didn't want to go in
Because reasons.
because I had pointed a gun at one of the members of the yacht club for reasons, and he might recognize me. So I couldn't just I didn't want to, but he didn't know my name, so I couldn't just walk in there and be like, "Oh, hey, I'm Professor Banyan. I'm, oh yeah, I pointed a gun at you. Hey, that was funny, wasn't it? Hey, give me all your secrets."
Whackity schmackity.
So-
Hi, we're here investigating the death of Jackson Elias.
Yeah.
Would you care to open up your
We're
evidence
looking for
us?
cultists. Do you know any? We want to kill them.
I'm looking for the cultists.
Yeah.
Can you tell me?
What hotel are you staying at? I have some information I could forward to you.
I'm looking for sailors.
Yeah.
Well, you're
So-
in the yacht club.
So to get in the yacht club, instead we decided to make up a fake identity and then disguise myself so that I could go in there. You were part of this.
Oh no!
Yeah.
I'll say no because I had screwed up a stealth check when you were pointing a gun.
Yeah, so
at them.
you could have done it if you hadn't screwed up a stealth check.
Yeah, I could have done it had I not screwed up a stealth check.
Sure.
So
Let's
Jason
go
and
with
I,
that.
sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, Thibodeau and I were on a boat waiting
Yeah.
for you guys to come out.
But to set it up first, we had to create an identity. So I was going to be like a wealthy British aristocrat who had come to America to forget about his dead wife who died on safari in Africa.
Just
And-
completely a ghost in the darkness.
Yeah,
for
'cause-
that.
yeah.
Or Roar, the cover story.
Yeah. And so to do that, I spent my character spent 2 points of credit rating. Then you spent a point of bargain to buy antiques to furnish his new abode.
Yes.
And I think Renee's character, who is a socialite dilettante, spent a point of something to spread gossip about this new
Name
eligible
dropping. Yep.
bachelor in town. So we spent 4 investigative points just to establish my cover story. And then
And at that point, I couldn't really screw you over.
Yeah.
It's the buy cool things currency of the game. If you
Yeah.
guys were willing to invest that much, sometimes things just need to go right.
But that was the thing. We got
Briefly.
we went in there. I was expecting secret doors, a secret society, some big thing, and it's like, oh, we got a clue that leads us to another thing. Okay.
Oh, hi, desk.
Yeah, we got one or two clues out of the whole thing. Yeah, but on the other hand, that was fine because we didn't know. That's why we had the guys with the boat with the guns waiting nearby in case we started shooting.
And it went.
all
swimming.
new members had to get the trepanation. Yeah. But we didn't know, so we
we got Scott clean, and Jason and I were sitting off
you're
the boat.
saying you didn't
Hey,
know.
did you catch anything? Nope. Oh, got a boot.
Well, Jason's character did because he had
He has outdoors.
not the former RPPR Jason. This is a different Jason. This is new Jason. Just for the listeners, so they know,
we have a lot.
He had survival or outdoorsman. So
Outdoorsman.
he
caught fish.
He caught fish.
And I'm the antiquarian
character
on a
did not.
boat. So
There are old boats.
yeah.
Take a good hard look at ye old boat.
So I kind of want you guys to talk a little bit, though, about I'm running a 3-part game. It should end next week.
Bastards.
Knights Black Agents called The Thieves Code.
So bad.
Yeah, about art thieves and then vampires.
Even loaned you Double Tap, and I still don't get to play.
I'm sorry.
I'm bitter.
So
Look at that face. That's a bitter face.
it is very bitter.
Bitter beer face.
How did I know that was coming?
So I don't know. What do you guys what comes up to mind with the so far with the whole? Because it's been 2 heists so far. You've just pulled off the second heist, but you found out there's a complication.
Yes, it's a complication called vampires.
Yeah,
So.
that's happened.
I kind of enjoy the constant like why did you invest in this special wood? Like, I had blood removed from my body from a distance.
Just sucked out of me.
So yeah, because we
remote drain's a hell of a power for GMs.
Remote drain's a hell of a drug.
Yeah, I will not. I don't want to give away spoilers or many spoilers for these since we have put these games. But long and short of it is, the first one we went in there character-wise, not expecting anything because we thought this was just a normal we're heisting.
Well, no, okay.
Piece
As
of
players, we
equipment.
knew.
Yeah.
Of course, but it's also not trying to metagame it. But yeah, we go down into this. We get this elaborate setup to rob this art gallery, and then we
during a evening event.
Yes, during an evening event, Caleb did the great job of basically seducing the intern. So
he was just an employee. He wasn't an intern.
Yeah, the employee, the one employee for this art gallery. We got everything, and then of course, once we finish it, everything starts going to hell.
Everything just goes to hell.
No, we got out of the building. We were doing pretty well,
and then thud.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just, oh, God, why were we doing this? What happened?
Well, I think, it was the woman who mind-controlled Caleb into crashing the car.
Yes,
I think that was when things went bad.
Yeah, mind-controlled and then started causing...
She turned into birds,
And then,
they do.
And then caused Tom's blood to go free-floating out of his mouth, which...
Yeah.
Defying all laws of gravity.
Yeah, among other things.
And physiology.
And physics. Just all of them, yeah.
So you're doing the Broadway musical Vampires Defying Gravity then?
Oh,
yeah.
That's a good
But of course, I think my favorite part was just like after that first mission would be called our contact.
Yeah.
It was a little like not quite the exact one of the exact words, but the equivalent of at the end of From Dusk Till Dawn.
Yeah.
It's like psychos. Like, do they look like psychos? They were vampires. Psychos do not explode when sunlight hits them. I don't give a fuck how crazy they are. Essentially, we were just yelling at our contact, like, you never said anything about the blood being drained from a distance.
Yeah.
Or blood draining.
And I actually have a little bit...
Also, and sorry, and the last thing, and then she says, it's like, look, I don't think there's any amount of money you could make this good. Or maybe you do.
Yeah.
And I actually am sad that we're past the April Fool's one, or we could have recorded a session for that, because I really wanted to get into that game. Hey, this is the second game of Knights Black Agents. Your contact told you this was the first mission, this was the test to get to the real one, and we all look, no.
Yeah.
We have enough money, we're doing this. Game over.
I'd rather work, this is just one last score.
There's a perfectly good coal mine right down the street.
Yeah. So that's something to look forward to. I don't know when I'll post that. Faust will be joining you, hopefully, for the next session.
Indeed.
We will see how that happens. So there's been some good banter in that. And in Faust, too. So
Faust is good.
And
I hope he becomes much more regular.
Yes. From Thriller Intent.
And then we can all point at him and go, one of us!
Yeah.
One of us!
Yes.
Expanding the RPPR network.
Yay.
Assimilating.
There we go. So this has been RPPR episode 120, Talking It Out. I'm Ross Payton.
I'm Tom Church.
I'm Aaron Karsten.
All right, we'll
And I'm Bill.
talk to you guys
Hi, Bill.
next time.
Hey, Bill.